It's not like today where it's copy and paste every week. I mean, I never wanted to repeat anything. If I knew I had seen something before, I would think of something else. There weren't jobber matches on the show. I mean, it was original content that I always wanted to be fresh and I always wanted to be different. So yeah, man, it took, I mean, it was 24/7, man.
Yeah. And how did you obviously once you've sort of come up with these storylines, were you coming up with like 6, 12 months ahead of time,
No,
or was
not
it?
at all. We were writing from pay-per-view to pay-per-view. I mean, that's how we were writing. We were writing basically like 4 blocks at a time to get from, the January pay-per-view to the February to the March. I mean, we were writing from pay-per-view to pay-per-view. This long term, 6 months, 12, bro, that is such BS.
Yeah.
Especially in wrestling, bro. These aren't actors. These guys are going to get hurt. So,
Yeah.
you're not going to waste your time writing 3 months, 6 months, 12 months in advance. When guys get hurt, they got to be written off the show, contracts and whatnot. We never, ever did that in the WWE. We worked from pay-per-view to pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Did you ever have, especially early on, anyone try and force someone down your throat in terms of like, hey, you've got to use, like, we want this guy to be prominently used? Or were you just given free reign to say, hey, I've got the pen, I've got the paper, the rating's going to dictate who I put on and who I don't?
Well, we pretty much had free reign. I mean, we just pretty much had free reign. Ed and I would write the show and then we would bring it to Vince and we would lay out the show to Vince and we would tell Vince, why we were doing the things that we did. We would give him some indication of where we were going, but not 6 months from now, like in 2-3 weeks, But that's pretty much it, bro. Back then it was 2 writers. It was me and Ferrara. We wrote the show A to Z and we presented it to Vince.
And that's kind of like, looking at it now as a fan or a former fan, I tend to see, like, you talk about how it was basically you, Ed, and then Vince right at the end to sort of put the bow on the present sort of thing. And now you see them, they've got 50,000 hands and 50,000 pots. Do you think that, in itself is really killing the product?
Oh, no doubt about it, bro. You cannot write a weekly show that way. You cannot. Yeah. When you're writing a weekly show, bro, you have to have absolute focus. There is no time to waste. You are under very, very strict deadlines. There's no way that their structure, bro, it is so out of whack. It is proven that it is not working. They have way too many people. I don't know how it turned from 2 guys to what it is today. Obviously, it's not for the better. The numbers, tell you that. But the way the structure is set up right now, it could never, ever be successful.
Yeah.
And is that because you think there's too many hands in the pot directing and trying to create there as far as writers?
Yeah, bro, there's not enough hours in the day. I mean, there just isn't, man. The more people that are involved, the more opinions you have to listen to, the more discussions you have to have, the more argument. There's just not enough hours in a day. You are writing a weekly show. You just don't have that kind of time to waste.
Yeah. And have you ever had talent when you've gone to them and said, right, this is the plan, what we have for you? Have you ever had talent turn around and go, there is no way in the world I'm going to do that?
Never.
No?
Nope.
They all sort of were able to say, okay, yep, I have no problem.
Because they were part of the process. So, they were allowed to add their 2 cents. If they wanted to question anything, they could question it. If they could make something better, fine, make it better. But back then, bro, they were a part of the process. I mean, we worked together. So there would never be an attitude of, F you, we ain't going to do this. I mean, I worked together with every single talent that I ever wrote for.
Yeah, and I think that that's probably the best way to do it is obviously the collaboration between two people, the writer and the performer, and that's what's going to get the best result at the end of it. Is obviously when both have an input into the final outcome, essentially.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
So, how did you find actually presenting things to Vince? Like, did he question things a fair bit, or was it more like he was very free flowing?
Bro, Ed and myself, bro, we wrote the show and we were very, very thorough. We knew Vince, we knew where he was going to try to poke holes in it. So I mean, bro, when we presented him that show, it was pretty much done. He would add nuances and he would add his touches here and there. He would never change anything. He would add to it to make it better. But we worked really, really hard on the shows. And when we went to him, we pretty much had a finished product.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, I think that's probably, at that level, that's what the expectation would be, really. Like obviously, absolutely. If you've got your head writer is actually coming to bring something, to you and say, this is what it is. And it has to be obviously something solid.
Yeah. I mean, Vince doesn't have time to write a TV show. I mean, bro, this is the owner of the company. I mean, his day to day and the stuff that he is dealing with, he doesn't have time to write a television show.
Oh, absolutely. He's running an actual business. Sorry, Charles.
No, I was going to say, I'd just love to know what has changed in that scenario. Obviously, more hands in the pot, but I mean, if he
doesn't trust anybody, Charles. He don't trust them. He doesn't trust them. He doesn't have faith in them. And like my whole thing is, bro, if you don't trust these people, if you don't have faith in them, and you feel you have to do everything yourself, then why are they there?
Well, that's
like I was telling you guys like earlier, I owned businesses. If I had an employee that I didn't trust and I didn't have confidence in, that employee wouldn't be there. So like that's what I don't understand, bro. Like if you don't trust these people and you don't think they're capable of doing the job, then why are they there?
Exactly.
And it almost feels as if they're making up for the lack of trust with just throwing more people at the problem. It's almost like putting a Band-Aid on a fucking, and it's eventually the boat's going to sink. You can't plug a hole, hole the boat with a Band-Aid.
The boat has sunk, bro. They are at such a all-time low, bro. I've been watching wrestling since the early 70s. It has never ever been this horrible. Not even close. Bro, it got pretty bad in like 94, but nowhere close to where it is right now.
And I feel bad watching for the talent. Seeing some of these guys, like a lot of the guys, like, I mean, you talk about Lashley a lot on the stuff on the brand. I mean, Jesus, he's a ready-made stuff. I mean, he was packaged ready to go.
Yep.
And it's not for lack of trying, but it just doesn't look like they're trying.
They're not, bro. They're not. They're not. And that's why, bro, I have no problem knocking them. And, people could say you're bitter, this and that. Bitter about freaking what, bro? I'm sitting behind my computer. I'm making a good living. I don't have to deal with the bullshit. But yeah, bro, if I'm watching a show and it looks like you're not trying and you're not putting any thought or effort into it when I know what it takes, bro, you're damn right I'm going to bury the show.
And that's
the thing, you want to give an honest opinion to it.
Right.
Sorry, yeah.
Right. And that's what it is, bro. It's not even about bad ideas. Ideas are subjective. So like, I don't rip them for bad ideas. I very rarely do. Bro, they don't have any ideas. They're not coming up with anything. It's the effort. And I am going to rip the effort all day long because I know what me and Ed Ferrara put into those shows.
Yeah. And it's, it's the blood, sweat, and tears, really.
Right,
like
it is.
And just here.